So to finish off our color wheel, we're going to choose a hue and we're going to create a 5-value scale at the bottom. But we're going to change this from how we did it before for our monochrome painting. Instead of just creating a tint by mixing white or a shade by mixing black, we're going to make it a little bit more interesting, and we're going to add some of that color back in. If you've noticed, whenever making a tint, the white tends to neutralize or make your color kind of bland and flat. It loses those qualities of the hue. Same with black. Whenever you mix a shade with black, it tends to get really dull and kind of bland. We're going to talk about a new and kind of more advanced formula to keep that color vibrant and shining through. And that formula is using lighter and darker hues on the color wheel. So for this example, we're going to look at orange. To make a tint of orange, you're going to add white, and that's going to create a really light orange, but it's not going to be as vibrant as you saw before. So to do that, we're going to go up on the color wheel, and as we said earlier, yellow is the lightest color on the color wheel. So we're going to go up around that outside curve, and we're going to see that the next lightest color on the color wheel from orange is yellow. So we're going to add that back in, and that's going to bring some of the color back. And I'm going to demonstrate this in a moment. But we can apply the same strategy to making shades. You're going to take your hue of orange, you're going to add black, and when you're looking at the color wheel, the next major color that is darker or lower on that color wheel is going to be red. So we're going to add some red back into it, and that's going to bring some of that life back to the color. This is going to allow your color schemes to maintain vibrancy whenever you're changing the value. So we're going to look at a specific example of this as I finish that value scale at the bottom of my color wheel, and then you're going to get to do that to finalize your worksheet.
So we're thinking about the value scale, and we're going to complete this, but we want to try to keep it in the same color family. So I did my value scale for my portrait painting using pinks, but I want you to notice that this tint has a little bit more red to it. It's a little bit more vibrant. And I also want you to notice that this shade is a little bit darker. It's more in the brown family. It's all kind of unified by red, whereas this, we kind of start to lose some of the color at these extremes. So we're going to talk about ways to keep this consistent so that our colors can be nice and vibrant. Brown tends to be the neutral version of red, and gray tends to be the neutral version of blue. So depending on which half of the color wheel, whether it's the warm side, the reds, oranges, and yellows are the cool sides, the greens, the blues, and purples, it's going to change that. So we're going to get this set up, and I want to talk about choosing your hue. So when you're working on your color wheel, you're going to be able to pick any of these 12 hues, any of the 3 primaries, any of the 3 secondaries, or any of the 6 tertiaries. We have our chromatic black in the middle. We're going to use that. We're also going to be using some white paint for our tint. But what you want to do is select your hue. Generally, we want to think about where we're going to place that hue. So we talked about this before. If you're starting with the value, since color has value, things like yellow is going to start here because it's a lighter color to begin with. So if you think about these top 3 colors, those are probably going to go in here. Your yellow, orange, or yellow, green, and yellow. If it has yellow in the name, it's going to go here. If we think about the middle of our color wheel, so from green, blue, red, red, orange, and orange, those kind of 3, those are in the middle of our color wheel. So those are going to kind of stay in the middle here. So if you choose any of those hues, you're going to start your value scale there. In the bottom, our darkest colors, red, violet, violet, blue, violet, they may go in here. So for the sake of this demo, I'm going to choose green. It's nice and in the middle. I'm going to put it here. If I chose red, violet, I'd start here. If I chose yellow, green, I'd start over here. But since I'm going to do green, I'm going to go here. So I'm going to grab my brush. I'm just going to start off with my hue. You want to mix a good amount of this. So I'm going to mix some of my blue into my yellow. I'm going to take some yellow here. I'm going to make a good pile of it just to finish this. And I'm going to quickly get a green. And it doesn't have to be an exact match, but it should be in the family of that. So a little bit more blue to it, just to match my color wheel a little better. So we're making this mixture, and I want you to pay attention to which of the 2 primaries are your darker and your lighter primaries. So in this situation, my darker primary is going to be blue. My lighter primary is going to be yellow because it's near the top. That's going to come in handy when we're making our tints and shades using that new formula. So I'm going to carefully use my flat brush and try to stay in the lines. Remember, this is a good exercise in just practicing brush control right now. Try to get it as nice as possible. So I tend to like to start with the tints because it's going to show it the most dramatically. So I have my green. I want to tint it down. So you can always tint down two ways. You can change the value by adding white or adding the next lightest color. So if I'm green here, if I want to go up, that's going to be adding yellow. If I want to darken it, go down, you're adding blue or violet. So that's what I'm going to do. I am going to go through, and with my green, I'm going to add just a little bit to the white. I'm going to make a mixture over here. And already we can see it's getting kind of bland. It's losing some of that greenness to it. And I'm going to paint this half and half so you can see. So this is just my green tinted down with white for kind of a mid-tone. Now if I want to make this more vibrant, if I want to make it a little bit better instead of this bland, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some yellow to that since it's my latest color. So I'm going to go back in, I'm going to mix in some yellow. And you're going to see that alters that color, that brings it closer back up to the green family. And that makes it just a little bit brighter. So I don't know if you can see that difference. This is kind of bland here, but with the yellow, it's a little bit more vibrant. And that helps keep it green. So anytime that you're tinting a color, add the next value up. That's going to help that. So I'd paint all of your color and add the next value up, which is typically going to be yellow is going to make a color lighter. But if you're painting purple, you may want to use something like the blue with it. So add purple to the white, and if you want it, you can lean a little bit more blue, or you can use the red in that situation. If we're doing red-violet, the next lightest color up is going to be red. So add white and some red to that to kind of reinstate that. So I'm going to mix my final tint here. I've got my green. I'm going to make a super tint where most of it is white, like almost pure white. Significantly lighter, way lighter. And I'm just going to add in a splash of yellow to bring that green back. So I add my yellow mixtures on the left. Got this beautiful green. I really like that. I'll show you what it looks like if I didn't add the yellow. So adding in that latest color allows it. This is just green and white, no yellow. You're going to see that it doesn't shine the way the other one does. By adding more of that yellow, that brings that color back. So I can even add more white. And your tints are always going to look lighter next to the darkest version on your palette. Once you put it on the paper, you're going to realize that it's a lot darker than you anticipate. So no yellow, yellow. It shines a little bit more. Same here. Yellow, no yellow. It's slight, but it makes a difference. So we're going to talk about the shade. Remember, we're not using black for this. No black. Chromatic black, the mixture of all three colors. That color from the center. So I'm going to take my green, I'm going to mix up a little bit more here. A little more yellow to color match. You can always Always test your color by putting it beside and comparing it. So I want to make this darker. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some of my darker chromatic black into the mix. Because it's already in that brown gray area, it's going to make it harder to see anyways. It's just going to make it naturally darker. So this is just my normal shaded mix. I'm going to put that down. So again, if you want to make your color vibrant, I'm going to add the next darkest color. So we said yellow is our lighter color. Blue is our darker version, and mixing the green. So I'm going to add more blue. I'm going to try to bring some of that color back. I'm just going to add that into my mixture here. So blue is going to be darker. What this does is it gives it a little bit more color to it. It makes it a little brighter. Same value, you're just adding some more of that saturation or that chroma to it. Look at the difference in that green. It kind of keeps the green alive. So you can tell, just brighter. It's brighter, it's more alive. And then we're just going to finish this off to the point where we're going to do mostly black with a little bit of our green. And since there's already a little bit of green in here, it's going to look green. Color is relative. It's going to appear next to itself. So this is just my chromatic black, my darkest version. Then we're going to add some blue into this mix. Lean it towards green. Just see how that changes the quality. That shade, same value, but more green. A little bit more vibrant. This is a good way to preserve your color. You're creating a value scale. So pick a hue. Think about the lightest and the darkest ingredient. And then as you add your white for your tint, add that lighter ingredient. As you add your shade, add that darker ingredient. And that'll help you complete your value scale.